There you go. Real life example. That is a hive from stressing out about recording. They're just like face jewels. This is what van life looks like with anxiety.
Ready? 3, 2, 1.
Hi there, I'm Elisa. After years in the tech industry, I was exhausted by the pressure. So I quit the capitalist hustle. Now I live in a tiny house with my partner and pup, learning to live simply and stress-free. I share that journey here. Hit subscribe and join us in the slow carve.
Stay till the very end to hear some specific triggers and how we've adjusted our routine to better compensate for them. So it might be helpful for me to explain what anxiety is and what my personal experience with it's been. Anxiety is not a one-size-fits-all. So the Mayo Clinic describes anxiety as intense, persistent worry or fear about everyday situations. Not to mention, it comes on in minutes and can last super long. A joy, right? And if that's how anxiety can impact normal everyday situations, imagine that in the context of something as unusual and transient as full-time van life. And as a cherry on top, in my case, in a foreign country. But let me back up for a minute and explain kind of when this all started. Growing up, I distinctly remember having what I can now call the Sunday scaries. I would often go up to my mom and explain that I had butterflies in my tummy. Now I realize what that is. That's the physical manifestations of anxiety, right? When I later started to work in high-pressure environments, it began to manifest as hives on my face and my neck. Eventually, the perfect storm of transitioning to life abroad, changing worldviews, and the stress from my tech job just pushed me over the edge. It wasn't sustainable anymore. I realized I was exhausted and burnt out. And what made sense for us is to make some radical changes. You might be wondering why I'm sharing all of this. Well, because I don't want to send the wrong message. Trying to keep up and play by the rules made me sick. And van life has been my catalyst for healing and rebuilding. And while it's given me the time and space I needed, it hasn't magically solved all of the things I struggle with, specifically anxiety. I've said this before, but I want to keep reiterating it. I really want this channel to be a space for honesty and conversation, especially for those thinking about pursuing alternative lifestyles. Putting on a brave face and pressing on doesn't serve anyone. All right, well, it serves the people at the top, but that's a discussion for another day. I have felt increasingly compelled to share this story, and in light of the news of a cherished van life community member losing her battle with anxiety and depression, it just felt downright irresponsible to wait. For what, a nice, neat version of my story? Real life is messy. In a world obsessed with a bigger, faster, shinier, I think it's important that we protect the softer, slower, and even imperfect. So with all that out in the open, I wanted to share some of the triggers that you might encounter in van life, and how my partner and I have adjusted our routine to help. If this last year has had you facing anxiety for the first time, or you're a lifelong warrior like myself, I genuinely hope these are helpful for you. One of the triggers that I've identified for me is the upheaval of moving too frequently. You have to think about the fact that packing and unpacking your home, moving locations, relearning where things are, where can you go to the bathroom, all of those things add to everyday stresses. So moving too frequently and having to face that could really agitate me. So we've kind of figured out a schedule of what's most comfortable, what can minimize that stress. For us right now, it's about 3 to 4 days, if not a week. Van life online is often portrayed as this constant road trip and all these amazing views, but in reality, you spend quite a bit of time getting your bearings every time you move. So that's something to keep in mind. In a similar vein to moving too frequently, I've found that lacking a routine can lead to a lot of stress for me. So I don't think I've shared much about this on my channel quite yet, but to make money, I freelance from the road. And what that often means is I have some sort of deadline that I need to work around. When we lack a routine, or we decide to do some sort of adventure spontaneously, what that can often lead to is a stress about when I'm gonna sit down and get to work. I have a really hard time staying present in what we're doing because I'm worried about whether I'm actually gonna accomplish the thing I need to accomplish in the allotted timeline. So something we've started doing is actually setting a routine where once we've kind of posted up in a new place, we know that we'll do maybe an early morning walk to do some discovering, and then it's plug-in time for the first couple hours of the day, and then the afternoons are flexible. For some people, anxiety manifests more in social situations. So in van life, every time you pull up to a new campground or a new town, There's going to be all kinds of new faces. Now, that's an amazing opportunity. You can end up finding people that share worldviews, have amazing stories, are so generous in helping, exchange experiences or tips. But with someone with anxiety, that can be a really big hurdle. I'm not above having peeked my head out of the window and waited for other people to get back in their caravan so that I could rush to the bathroom without having to interact. In a foreign country, especially when you're not sure what language you're going to be interacting in, and just the awkwardness that comes with that. I know it's silly, and I'm trying to reframe it as opportunities to make new friends, but it's just a reality for me. So I think for someone with anxiety, having kind of a stable launch pad is something that's really important. If home doesn't feel like a comfortable, safe space for you, it can make dealing with everyday situations that much more difficult. The last little piece of advice or encouragement I would say is to make your camper van or your RV or your van a safe space for you to hunker down when you need to. If you need to snuggle up and get back to a more normal base level, don't feel ashamed about that. It's just our reality. Some of the things that I've done to help myself feel more comfortable in those moments is to invest in comfy surroundings, and that doesn't have to be expensive. For me, it's more about meaningful pieces than expensive pieces. Make sure you have enough snacks around in case you don't feel like packing up and unpacking and doing that whole to-do for getting to the grocery store, or if you just need a few nights out in the wild to be by yourself. There is so much more to say about this topic, I'm sure, but I'm going to leave it here for the day. All in all, van life has been a beautiful experience, and it really has given me the flexibility I've needed to navigate this particular season of life and its version of anxiety. This video is dedicated to Lee McMillan. If you can, I'd encourage you to donate in her honor for mental health awareness on her GoFundMe page. I've linked the page in the description below. Until next time, guys, stay safe.